This hoodie is made from a Highloft Polartec fleece, YKK Aquaguard zippers, custom ventilated mesh cuffs and hem, and uses a carrying system literally only ever used once before. It cost me nearly $300 in postage and import fees alone. And this one cost $14 from Amazon with free delivery and arrived in 24 hours. Both of them came in a clear plastic bag. There's something interesting going on here, which is why I spent several $1,000s finding out exactly what makes a hoodie like this one cheap and a hoodie like that one on the end expensive, and all the kinds of options you might find in between. Let's take a deep dive, learn exactly what sorts of things make a good hoodie, and I'll give you plenty of recommendations at every kind of price point. This is accumulation here, let's get going. Okay, first off, let's check the Amazon special. This one here is from Stars and Stripes. Businesses will buy these in large quantities to print their own designs and use as merch, uniforms, startup brands, levers hoodies, you name it. You probably want me to tell you this is complete garbage and burst in flames the first time alright, but the truth is, it's actually not that bad. But how can something that costs so little do the job? This is a cotton polyester blend. Cotton has many great properties, but being a natural material, it is expensive, even the absolute cheapest stuff. Mixing in polyester helps give the fabric some stretch, helps the cotton fibers hold together because this will be made with cheaper, shorter cotton fibers, and some resistance to shrinking in the wash, and it helps keep the cost down. It doesn't say where this hoodie is made, but some Stars and Stripes stuff is made in Pakistan. Wages are pretty low there, and countries like Pakistan and Bangladesh are known for specializing specifically in cheaper clothing. The country of manufacture doesn't tell us the full story. You can get bad manufacturers in Italy, in the UK, and even China, which is stereotyped as being the place for cheap manufacture, actually has such a developed industry that there are plenty of places to make very high quality clothing. Many factories there will make clothing to high standards for brands like Arc'teryx. In manufacturing, economies of scale makes an enormous difference. Stars and Stripes are placing enormous orders, and this goes hand in hand with the construction of this hoodie. The cut is incredibly basic. It is basically a big rectangle with sleeves on it, and that cuts down on factory time as each unit can be made extremely quickly. The downside, of course, is it's not really shaped for a human body, and the cut is not particularly stylish. It is really, really long. I think it looks a bit better if you tuck in the waistband, but if you're feeling daring, you could even try chopping the bottom off. Basic blank hoodies from established manufacturers like Stars and Stripes, Gildan, Fruit of the Loom are all about consistency. They might not be the greatest thing in the world, but you can guarantee exactly what you're going to get. That's more than can be said for some ultra fast fashion products. For a more premium take on this, look at brands like Hanes, Rue Porter, House of Blanks, all of whom offer nicer cuts and materials and can generally be found under $50. Now let's start moving up the scale. This Carhartt WIP Chase hoodie retailed at £85, just over $100. You could probably find this cheaper on sale. Maybe not as rugged as the mainline workwear stuff, but WIP is generally considered a respectable, no-nonsense brand producing decent quality clothing. More sensible length, yes, but more importantly, check the sleeves. The Stars and Stripes arms are essentially tubes sewn onto the body. This is called a set-in sleeve, which is cheaper and easier to do. See how on this hoodie the arms are sewn on diagonally? This is called a raglan sleeve. More complex and expensive, but allows for easier movement and greater comfort as there's no seam over your shoulder. Looking closer, you'll see upgrades almost everywhere. Extended stitching on the pockets to help prevent it coming apart, aglets on the drawstring stops them fraying, cuffs and hem use a contrast ribbed construction to allow them to more snugly fit whilst allowing expansion. Stitching in all areas is finished more cleanly and tighter, helping it hold up better with wear. Looking closer still, we can see the fabric itself is actually woven in a more uniform way. Interestingly, there's actually more polyester in this Carhartt hoodie than the Stars and Stripes one, but thanks to a higher fabric weight and most likely longer cotton fibers being used here, the result is more warmth and a more structured finish. Fewer loose fibers mean it will retain its structure and fabric over time and multiple washes. These bits will come away from the Stars and Stripes one. Out of the packet, this structure means it's actually a little less comfortable than the very fleecy Stars and Stripes hoodie. It's a sacrifice in the name of durability, long-term wearability, and the aesthetics and hand feel of a more structured fabric. Oh, and who could forget the logo detail? Similar brands include Champion, famous for their reverse weave, a patented technique designed to increase durability, particularly through multiple washes. It's telling that vintage Carhartt and Champion clothes are pretty sought after today. Also consider Colourful Standard, Organic Basics, Abercrombie, all brands aiming to provide a no-nonsense, decent product at an elevated but not too outrageous price. If brands are more your thing, you will find streetwear labels incorporating their designs in this kind of price point. Some streetwear brands will print on blanks like we saw earlier, other ones will have their own things made up by manufacturers for them. This is called cut and sew. Obviously the latter tends to be a little bit more expensive. Before we start exploring the world of non-standard hoodies, it's time for me to grab a snack. I'll be back in a minute.
We've been tracking the target, but he's using some kind of anti-surveillance jacket. Do we have an ID? Ah, it's this video's paid sponsor, Skinner, with the Jacket 01. I saw this thing on TikTok, but never thought they'd actually make it. That explains why we can't get a read on him. See the mask? It's built into the jacket, and the pattern is scrambling our facial recognition systems. What's more, the central pocket acts as a Faraday cage. As soon as he drops his phone in there, it's game over for device tracking. Back to the drawing board, gentlemen. Now we'll never know where Antoine gets his delicious snacks.
Alright, I am back, snacks in hand, and despite my Z-list celebrity status, I can guarantee no one was stalking me thanks to the Skinner 01. This thing was conceptualized as the ultimate technical jacket to counter surveillance and facial recognition, created as a community project with fans on TikTok voting on which features and variations they wanted to see. This inspiration means it's a high-tech jacket. Yes, these are magnets on the front, but nothing needs plugging in or charging, so it'll even work when you're off-grid. And of course, this is a DWR-treated water-resistant shell with taped seams, so will be keeping you dry. The futuristic aesthetics and the array of features on here are exactly in line with what we like talking about on the channel, so very cool to be able to have such an appropriate video sponsor. And big thanks to everyone who tagged me on TikTok recommending the Skinner hook me up. The extremely limited drop is happening next week, so if you want a chance to get one of these jackets for yourself, hit the link in the description and sign up now. And massive thanks to Skinner for being paid sponsors of the video. Now, heading into $150 territory gives us some interesting changes. Take Amulet Wear here. They're a small brand from LA who focus on two things: interesting pocket arrays and interesting dye finishes. The two come together on this object dyed chore hoodie to make something instantly differentiated, and the non-standard cropped fit with drop shoulders only accentuates that. Smaller brand means smaller quantities means higher cost, and the additional fabric, hardware, sewing complexity increase that further. Same goes for the dyeing process. Typically, the cotton thread would be dyed first. This is 100% cotton, by the way. This can be done at enormous scale, but here, the dyeing process happens right at the end. Hopefully you'll agree, though, that this is worth it, because the three-dimensional effect that it gives, the detail that you can see around the stitching and all of these different areas is really cool. The unique variation in each garment gives you more of an artisanal feel, which I think is really nice to have. What's more is this is an unusually high fabric weight of over 500 GSM, making it feel very thick and protective. Also consider Cole Buxton and About Blank from here in the UK. Similar price points, similar attention to this non-standard cropped cut, more in line with current fashion trends. Another small brand, Huni, this one here also plays in this space with an extremely exaggerated cut, and a similar thing can be said of the Raised Online hoodie back here, which of course you probably will have seen me wearing. Let's go a level up though. What can we expect from more luxury brands? There is a bit of a jump in price. We're going from like $200 max towards the $400 kind of mark here. Here are two hoodies I bought from Acne Studios, a pretty well-respected Swedish brand, both of these made in Portugal, which has a pretty good reputation for garment manufacture. The first is the more standard of the two, the Franziska hoodie, and again, we're back to a cotton poly blend here. But we see here both the high fabric weight of the Carhartt or Amulet hoodie combined with a high level of comfort. And in fact, personally, I find this to be the most comfortable hoodie of all the ones we've looked at so far. Also note the non-standard cut here, slightly shorter length with massively dropped shoulders and extended arms. Designed to give the oversized hoodie look without being too big everywhere. They've actually removed standard features, kangaroo pocket replaced with concealed pockets, and hood drawstrings removed because honestly, who uses those to adjust their hood anyway? Ironically, that makes it look premium and fashionable for differing to the standard hoodie. Fabric texture is nice, there's a heavy fleece interior, the stitching is finished well throughout, but I can't help but notice the central hood stitch here. Now this is done to improve the shape of the hood by using two separate pieces of fabric, but it isn't quite straight, it's kind of wavy. Is this a manufacturing mistake caused by having the two pieces of fabric at different levels of tension, or is it an aesthetic choice to reflect the sort of comfy, squashy, cozy aesthetic the hoodie presents? I'll leave that one up to you. Luxury products are often associated with big brands. The branding is actually very subtle here. There is one little pink tag logo, and I actually think this looks pretty good. Nonetheless, there is no doubt this tiny label has power. Acne Studios is a respected brand in the fashion space. People want to buy into the brand and everything it represents. And big fashion brands often do have very high costs in PR, marketing, runway, managing their own stores, often in expensive locations, and those are all costs that have to be reflected in the final price of something. The second hoodie here, the Feste, polyester is, I think, the more interesting of the two, and not just because of this rather fetching pink colour. The fabric has a really loose, open structure with a towel-like terry on the inside, so drapes very naturally on body, which works with the ultra-oversized diamond-like cut. Note especially the hem, which hangs away from the body rather than gripping it as a standard hoodie would. Oversized draw cords, but constructed very differently to on the more standard hoodies, and using these material eyelets rather than metal ones. Many of these characteristics you might associate with an old, heavily worn, stretched out hoodie, but what they've done here is taken those kinds of ideas and presented it in a new luxury product. You're getting the look and the feel of something authentically vintage, but it's actually new. Same wavy stitching as on the other hoodie too, which makes me think that this is in fact intentional. Again, we see another subtle branding element too. This one's on the back, so arguably a fair bit more visible, but having this translucent finish still think is kind of nice. A lot of luxury brands do play around this price point or more expensive. I like Stone Island and CP Company, some of their more interesting stuff at least. You could also look at brands like mainline Rick Owens, mainline Fear of God. Both of those use premium materials to communicate their luxury status rather than branding. And Rick Owens especially has loads of examples of non-standard hoodie cuts that you might want to take a look at. But of course, this luxury category is something that you could spend absolutely ridiculous amounts of money on. And now we come round to the end of the rail acronym J117HLEX. Coming in at a retail price of €832 or just under $900, and shipping is extra. Speaking to creative director Errolson Hugh, he noted that the brand doesn't have the ability to produce items at scale.
We're just not capable of it. We don't have the scale, essentially, to reach those price points. That's the whole reason we did the Nike collab.
As we noted earlier, this inevitably drives up prices. In fact, this specific version, which has black zips rather than silver ones, was only available on the official Acronym website, thus making it even more rare. But that cost is also in construction because this is a fairly complex hoodie. Okay, it's a zip up unlike the others, but check out these contrast material cuffs and hem. I've never seen this material used on something before, and it has a really nice stretch whilst being super lightweight and comfy next to skin. The main fabric is 100% polyester, yes, but it's made by Polartec, something they called Highloft. They exclusively deal in performance fabric, often used in outdoor and military gear. The material they call Highloft here is intended for warmth and breathability over normal fleece. This does come at cost. Not only is this a little bit less durable, but the literal financial cost. These kinds of branded fabrics tend to be more expensive than generic or less specialist cottons or polycottons. As a result, you'll only see this used by premium or luxury brands, and even then it's more associated with performance than fashion, leaving you with few options if you want a material like this without looking like a hiker. You're probably wondering what the deal is with all these zips though. One at the front gives extra storage, but this higher one that runs over the shoulder separates the zip track, allowing you to carry this hoodie when you don't want to wear it. In my opinion, this works even better than the shirt sling that they more typically use. You can't feel it at all when it's not in use, and you don't have to take it off when you put it in the wash. They use a special locking zip to do this, allowing you to adjust the height and tension without the zip pulling itself apart. In the intro, I said the sling was used in one other jacket. It's the Nike Collab track jacket, which I coincidentally also own. How did it end up here on a mainline product?
J117, which has the zipper sling. For various legal reasons, we didn't want to put the Acronym jacket sling onto a Nike product. The zip sling was in development before Nike. It just took a long time for the Nike stuff to come out. Then we'd actually kind of forgotten about it because it was so long. And they were like, oh yeah, why don't we put this back on, because it is actually pretty useful and pretty cool. It's a good variation that's valid in its own.
This zip track is YKK AquaGuard, making it water resistant. The main material isn't though. This might seem strange or even redundant, but essentially this is an extra expense to guarantee the look and the feel of the more luxurious zip, which no other brand would probably bother with. And it means the track itself is easily visible and doesn't get lost in the sheen of the fleece. AquaGuard also gives the track some reinforcement, which makes sense when it's carrying the weight of the jacket. A cheaper one would do, but this is the kind of price category where these sorts of decisions can be made. And in fact, this YKK zip track alone costs more than the entire Stars and Stripes hoodie. The main zip though, well, it does zip, and it zips up all the way. Now, making yourself blind is funny, it looks cool in pictures, maybe you'll find a niche use for it, like having a little nap on the plane or something, but it's non-standard, it allows for that extra little bit of adjustability, and it gives the cool aesthetic of having these teeth around the edge of the hoodie. Again, it's the kind of thing that no regular run-of-the-mill product would do because it's more difficult and it's more expensive. Should a $900 hoodie come in fancy luxury packaging? In this case, the very modest packet communicates two things. One, this is not intended to be a luxury product despite the high price tag. This is a tool. This is designed to be used. It even comes with a little instruction manual almost. And two, it's a reassurance that you aren't paying for the packaging, you're just paying for the product. That's definitely something that appeals to Acronym fans, particularly because they're known for not really doing any paid marketing either. This is of course a curated brand image, but there is at least some truth in it. For others, wanting a luxury experience for their money is a lot more important, and I'd suggest those heritage luxury brands will do that more effectively. I bought a belt a few months ago from Brunello Cucinelli, and they definitely went hard on exactly this idea. It's a box and packaging that's designed to be kept, not just thrown away. Clearly this is the most non-standard product with the most things to differentiate it from a conventional hoodie. Each of those things make the construction cost higher. Some of those offer utility and function to make it objectively better, other things are just there because it's cool. Collectively that means there's not much competition if you want a hoodie that's similar to this. And if the material is more your thing, Polartec do supply other brands, and there's lots of great things out there, many of which are available cheaper than this. In fact, as a little bonus, I've got two great examples here, one from Mission Workshop and one from Houdini, both of which great hoodies I think, made with some really nice Polartec fabric, very different to the High Loft fleece, but nonetheless I like both of these a lot. So anyway, even with a relatively simple garment like a hoodie, there are so many different factors involved which change the final product and its price. Fabric, stitching, hardware, weight, hood design, crop, all of these things combine to create the final product, all of which can be done in cheaper or more expensive ways. And those ways aren't always objectively better either. What it does do though is unlock options and specializations. A very cheap hoodie like this one has to be middle of the road by definition. It kind of has to do a bit of everything for everyone. Acronym or Acne Studios can afford to put something out that some people might really vibe with, but others might be completely put off by. When shopping for hoodies, think about what things you can spot that make that item worth it for you. Do you want a super weighty fabric? Would you rather pay for a unique garment dye? Or do you actually just need something that's gonna do the job, and then you don't need to spend that much money at all? Every brand I've mentioned I would recommend, and I'd recommend them for different people and for different reasons. I'd also love to hear your recommendations. No doubt you've got a favorite hoodie out there, so please do stick that down there in the comments and let people know brands or different hoodies that are worth considering, because I want to make this video as helpful as possible, and your suggestions and recommendations make a massive difference there. So thanks so much for doing that. I really hope you enjoyed taking this look through the different hoodies. Please give the video a like if you did, and as always, I will be back very soon with the next one. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you then.